Melanie Paradis, a Conservative strategist and former Conservative leader for Aaron O'Toole's Director of Communications, and she's the president of Texture Communications. I hope I got all that right, Melanie. Thanks so much. That's a mouthful.
Thanks for having me.
All right, glad you're here. All right, first of all, your reaction to this major development in the race.
Well, and people who've seen me on CTV recently know that I've been saying it's going to be a long, hot summer for the Conservative leadership race. Unfortunately, this is the sort of thing that happens when we have leadership races. There's allegations that are lobbied against different candidates. It is a bit surprising to me that this one escalated to the level of a candidate being disqualified. That certainly is new in the playbook for Conservative leadership races, but. I think it's only going to heat up from here, unfortunately. This back and forth between the party and between Patrick Brown's campaign does not show much of a sign of stopping anytime soon.
Well, what happened? What is your understanding of why he was disqualified?
So my understanding is that there were multiple allegations. However, I would say that I think everything we're responding to right now is just what is leaked out to the media, what has been verified by either his campaign team or by the party. And really, this all happened late last night. So we're all still responding to just things that we're hearing and reading about this morning. I would say that more transparency is likely needed in this case to help understand which of the allegations actually prompted this meeting of the Leadership Election Organizing Committee and the decision to disqualify, because there had been reports previously about whether or not some membership sales were being potentially reimbursed. That's a different charge and allegation than what my understanding is Leoc discussed last night, which was around whether a corporation had paid the salary of a campaign volunteer or employee, which would be a violation of Canada's Elections Act if that were the case.
Do you think that we will hear more from the Leadership Election Organizing Committee today to help clear the air on this and lead to better understanding, particularly for Patrick Brown's supporters?
Well, I understand it is a tough position for them to be in when they're communicating about legal matters like this and whether a dispute is ongoing. The dispute resolution process within the party's leadership election is, to my understanding, complete at this point. There's no real way to challenge this decision now that it's been taken. But I would not be surprised if lawyers did not become involved to try to test this outside of the party structure. So I would imagine that there will likely be more information coming out. And I do believe that the 100,000 plus members who signed up to vote for Patrick Brown in this leadership are going to be expecting a bit more of an explanation about what happened here.
And Melanie, some are already hinting, suggesting, wondering if this somehow indicates that the Leadership Election Committee favors the frontrunner, Poilievre.
Well, I certainly hope that is not the case. The Leadership Election Organizing Committee is appointed by National Council to represent the party's interests, the members' interests, and ensuring that we have a fair and open election, that we're transparent with our members about what's happening throughout the election, and that we have a clean race. So I hope that that's not the case. I don't believe that is the case. I think that they were simply responding to allegations. I understand that some evidence was presented to them. That again, they're going to have to explain what exactly the allegations were and the strength of the claim and the evidence that they were presented in order to take this unprecedented decision and disqualify Patrick Brown.
Okay, and I'm just getting this in, Melanie. This is a statement from Poilievre's people, and part of the statement says, for years, Patrick's conduct has demonstrated that he is the kind of person that will say and do anything to win. From your position as a communications expert, is now the time to be releasing a statement like that?
No. I think it probably would have been more helpful for them to say nothing about this. I mean, the deed has been done. He's been disqualified. There's no point in continuing to add fuel to this fire. Just carry on with the race and go get out your vote. The ballots have apparently already started to be mailed out. So now's the time for the campaign teams to hustle up and go get their voters to fill out those ballots, photocopy their driver's license, and mail back into the party to vote for the next leader.
With Brown now out, where does it leave the race?
Well, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this shakes out. Where do those voters go? Mm-hmm. The people that he recruited, do they go anywhere? Or are they going to drop off? In which case that would completely change the math on the points in each riding. It's a really complicated algorithm. It's not a very straightforward one member, one vote kind of set of rules. We're weighted by riding, and that makes things very difficult to predict and how this could impact the race.
Do you see Brown at some point before the end of summer endorsing another candidate?
Anything is possible. It will be interesting to see, again, depending on the information that comes out in the next couple of days about these allegations, whether an endorsement would be helpful or whether it would hurt another candidate. It remains to be seen. I do understand that many members of his team on the organizational level, the people who were selling the memberships, have already started to move on to the other teams to see if they can help them with the get out the vote portion of this campaign. So it'll be interesting to see how the role that they play.
Well, I think your initial assessment was right. This has just gotten a lot hotter. And this day is just starting. We're waiting to hear more reaction to this. Patrick Brown disqualified from the leadership race. Thank you so much, Melanie Paradis. We'll speak with you again.